everybody. I think I might have unmuted myself a little bit too early. If you got that countdown, I'm sorry. Welcome to the WADcast. This is a show here that we do on the internet, all about writing, acting, directing, and all of those jobs in between to get a production from set to your, eyeballs or earballs. I'm Josh, one of your hosts, joined as always by Mr., if that is your preferred pronoun this week, Brandon.
Oh my God. What is up, everybody? Happy Friday and happy Jalorth, as I'm going to call it from now on, July 4th, just to save myself some time on and a few syllables. One day early, but it still counts. So, either way, welcome to the WADcast. I think this is episode number, I think you said episode 12, Josh, right?
Sí, número 12.
Yeah, we are, definitely moving along here. So, time flies when you're having fun. But
there's a good Kentucky joke in there somewhere, but I'm gonna back off that one.
I think honestly you're being too soft. You should just go for the Kentucky joke there.
All right, okay. Then feed me the line. Okay, this is the 12th episode. We're 12. Give me that.
Okay. This is the 12th episode. This is 12.
All right, we are Kentucky legal.
Oh my God. Okay, I kind of regret even asking you to do that, but oh Christ. But either way, so I just want to go over a few of the topics that we're going to be discussing this week. Sorry to take the reins from you so soon in the show here, Josh, but last week, anyone that knows me knows that I have a massive issue with anything being altered or changed or anything like that. When it comes to like film, I think that we should touch on subjects that are deemed offensive today, whereas they were not offensive at the time that they were made. But I realized, you know what, this whole cancel culture thing that I'm waging a war with, I realized that it actually does quite a bit for the show, and even for residuals for shows that are no longer airing. Because you watch these shows and you get pissed off, right? Like, people get pissed off, like, oh my God, they did this, and then people are curious, like, oh well, let me go see this. So then they watch the show, or like however they have to do it, they download the show, or they purchase it online, whatever they have to do to get this. Places where you can still get episodes and pay for them, as opposed to whatever. And the same thing goes for musicians. It's been proven in the past that musicians who have been attacked by the so-called cancel culture haven't lost any money whatsoever. Like they, unless something, I guess, profound happens, they are still making serious bank off of being hated. Because, everyone loves to hate something, right?
Nickelback is still around.
Yeah, and I mean that's the thing. Like, I mean, Danielle is a massive fan of Nickelback. She loves Nickelback. So I mean, like with that, they had their fan base. With me, it just sounds like it's like Creed to me. Like, how Creed to me just sounds like the Swedish Chef and the Muppets singing. But Nickelback just sounds like someone. Well, I mean, listen to Creed. I mean, like, we're dreaming, like that guy got famous off of that. But very much like Eddie Vedder from Pearl Jam. But I won't attack Eddie Vedder because he's a golden god. But
right.
Either way, going back to this, I wanted to talk about a few things, and one of which is a big one for me, especially with my writing. Where do you draw the line when you're writing a story? Where do you realize that maybe this isn't a good way to go about getting this point, this theme, or even like this joke? Maybe even like not even so much those things, but a character. When is it a good time or bad time to put in views that are extremely offensive to people, and how would you use those views to carry a story? But as I was telling you, Josh, earlier, remember my script, The Groomsman?
Yeah.
It is extremely offensive, and it's not meant to be. The main character, Carl, is meant to be a very offensive, just asshole, self-centered character. just woe is me, everything is everyone else's fault, very narcissistic without the narcissism, just very self-pitying and self-serving. But he has a massive amount of love for his brother. Now, in the story, these two guys end up, Carl and Sean, I think the other guy's name was, Carl and Sean were best friends when they were kids, and as they grow up, they absolutely hate each other. It's just kind of like this time jump. It starts off with them in adulthood hitting each other, and you kind of learn about their relationship throughout the course of the film. But I entered this script into a film festival back in 2012. Out of, I think it was, I think it was around like 15 to 20,000 entries worldwide. I received first runner-up from third place in the comedy selection. Got offered to fly out to Los Angeles because at the time I was living in Jacksonville Beach, Florida. Didn't make it. But still, it would have been awesome to go to the awards dinner and meet people, mingle, all that stuff. I got rave reviews on my scorecard, everything. That contest has since ended. The whole competition's no more. I entered it into another competition run by one of the same people that was running the first one. The scorecard I got back from the same, pretty much same person, same group, was scathing. Normally, it would be pretty upsetting, but it was like a testament to me as to how much times have changed. And I realized that there's a lot of insensitive material in there, but the things that it really condemned were things that were empowering for the characters. I think it said something about like racism or something like that. And there was a scene where Carl was flat out like verbally assaulting this guy Chan that ran a dry cleaner. Not meant as a racist thing. It was actually based off of a buddy of mine in New Jersey. But it's how the context of the jokes were taken out of contents of the jokes were taken out of context. I can see how that would look. The one-legged stripper that I've talked about on the show before, Amputatia, they looked at that as making fun of disabled people, where it was actually something that really built this character. Like her flaws were her actual strength to her. She had a lot of self-respect. She was proud of the fact that she was no longer a professional dancer, but she was still able to get a dancing gig, working as an exotic dancer who didn't take her clothes off. She very much valued her body, her profession. She just really enjoyed dancing, and now she's getting paid just in a different way. So the question is, where is the line drawn now? Because comedy ages like milk. You have to be careful with how you execute it, and it's kind of like, a messed up scenario, but I don't know, like Josh, what would you think? Like if you were to write a script and you're to reread it and you were to see a few things, do you think that if it would be funny to you but offensive to somebody else, if that humor carried the story forward, would you keep it in the script and just wait for somebody else to give you feedback on it, or would you just pretty much want to stand by that? How would you execute that?
Let me ask my other question. Is this something that is sent to be made by somebody else or self-produced?
Let's go with either or. Let's go ahead and go with the fact that, say you're going to self-produce it. Go back to our Extra Life days and just, so we were like looking into self-producing. What would you do? How would you go about the execution of the story?
And you're saying the joke actually moves the story forward?
Yes.
Helps,
but it'd be like a super offensive joke. Think of what happened with Community with oh God, was it? I forget the actor's name. Went in as the troll to try to get in with the D&D crowd, and it was looked at as a blackface kind of deal when it wasn't, but it was brought up in the series. So how would you go about? Because that whole thing moved the story forward, and it kind of got like that message across that this isn't okay. So what, like, not in that standpoint, but what would you do if you wrote something and you thought that something was over the top offensive, but it, moved the story forward and it was something that you wanted to produce yourself?
No, it sticks. It absolutely sticks.
Now,
Especially
would
in
you?
that particular instance when it wasn't supposed to be offensive in the least. It was a thing.
Okay.
Can we get a actually offensive joke example?
You want me to give you an example?
Yeah.
Okay. Um, we were just talking about this. It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Okay.
There's an episode where um, I forget what it was called. Something about hate crime, or the gang commits a hate crime, or whatever it was. But the show was about Danny DeVito's character Frank watching his son's friend Mac almost get crushed by a piano. Charlie kicks him out the way, but the way that he caught his attention was shouting, "Look out, faggots!" Uh, I apologize to anyone who might be offended by the terminology. Just quoting the line as to what he used. But now, that being the case, he moved on. They take this thing to court. The whole thing takes over them battling over a lottery ticket. So they take it to like a mediation specialist, and they're describing their stories, their versions of everything that happened, and there's a scene where Mac talks about how it was a hate crime to say that word to him because he was gay. So Dennis corners him. He was like, and the mediation specialist is she's a black lady. Well, in this episode, one of the characters asks, like, okay, well, what is another word? Like, looks at the lady. She was like, this goes to you. What is another word that would describe her? What kind of disparaging word would you think would describe her? And everyone's silent because no one wants to say anything. So Charlie kind of like hesitantly blurts out the N word, like as a question, like to answer the question with, like, am I correct in saying this? Everyone's horrified, but they use that to get a point across with it being not something you should use. Now, I despise that word, but it's one of those things where in the show they used it to kind of portray like how, calling someone like, the F word is like the same thing, to, a whole group of people. So something like that is what I guess I'm talking about.
Okay.
And yeah,
There's a lot to unpack, especially this example. But if it was me, now if I was self-producing, I would have, well, how do I put this?
it's a very
I
controversial
would,
show.
it goes in, it's in the first draft. It goes through the second draft, and by the third draft, if it's still, you know, getting laughs and it's still important to the story, then it has to stay. Because if you're self-producing, I would imagine your whole purpose is to serve the story, and if it does that, then that's what you have to do. Now, if you're working for somebody else, I mean, we can look at television writers, right?
Yeah,
And we see the final product that hits the screen. The thing to remember for TV writers, we're getting the final product. This isn't the first draft. This isn't the second draft. This is the finished product. Not only does it have to go through the team of writers and then, the producers and the showrunners, but it also has to go through network standards and practices.
yeah,
It has to be signed off on. So you've got to clear a bunch of hurdles. Imagine what it would be like if everything made it to screen.
Yeah.
Nobody would want to watch anything ever. But we do have these filters in place to tone down some of the stuff. So if you're seeing it on TV, it's going through a lot to get there. And yeah, that's some people might see something that's, incredibly offensive on TV, and maybe sometimes it is. Most of the time it's not. But like I said, I first and foremost, as a writer, think about serving the story.
Okay.
That's producing it myself. I'll write it. If I'm on a staff TV show, I'll write it. If it doesn't make it, I'm still getting paid. I might be bummed for a minute, Oh, I thought that was a great point to make with this character, whatever. But if it gets shot down, I'm not gonna lose sleep over it.
Yeah.
Somebody somebody has said a line, and the unfortunate thing is nobody really knows where it is when it comes to writing.
No, I absolutely agree with that. And the thing is, like, at least for like, and that's the big difference though is between writing for something you want to produce and writing for someone else is that you never have final say in the product ever, not once. You are to pretty much put out exactly what they want, and it'll be forever changed until it's agreed upon, and you could even lose your contract with that producer or that studio or whatever kind of production house it might be. If it's not to their liking, which is understandable because it's got their name on it, not yours. You're just kind of the guy writing their shit. But so that being the case, building off of that, I got into a conversation with somebody the other day about how when you write something, don't go out of your way to be as offensive as possible. Don't try to add so much shock value to your script just to try to keep the person engaged. If there's some kind of shock value there that, like, as you were saying, moves the story forward, there's a way to be funny with it without coming off as overly offensive. But we've said this on the show before, comedy, and as I was just bringing up in my first point tonight, now is so different than what it was a few years ago. And I'm like, for someone that writes dark comedy, like, I love writing dark comedy. You have to mind your P's and Q's when you do it. Because now, like, I don't ever go out of my way in my writing to be as offensive as possible. I write to make myself laugh my ass off. So
There's definitely a place for that kind of thing. Netflix has a channel, I guess. I don't know. A content producer.
yeah,
Whatever the hell Netflix is, they have a lot of content that really really pushes the envelope when it comes to should or shouldn't do. I can think. Let's see on the Netflix. Everybody at 10 right here, Super Studios. Uh, we I say we when I mean me. Talked about F is for Family. The new season just came out. Have you watched any of that?
oh no, I love that show.
Really PC, but it carries itself in such a way where you're like, okay, it fits for every character, for every story arc. It fits.
Yeah.
Remember, there was a time when people looked at Married with and said, "Wow, this is egregious. This is so offensive." Married with children.
Oh yeah.
Now, did they
God.
talk about sex a lot? Yeah, yeah. But that's really all it was. Just talk about
When we see
sex.
Married with Children, they touched on like sex a lot. Like I mean, like that was like pretty much like the key thing just for the main character Al Bundy. But the other thing with Al Bundy is that it was, and I haven't really seen anybody really go after that lately. But with Married with Children, the underlining tone was that Al Bundy and his buddies, and at that point in time, I think that started airing back in the 80s. But at the time, and this is an example of humor, Married with Children would never get made today. Not the way it was anyway. But it was just outwardly over the top misogynistic. But that's where a lot of the comedy came from.
No,
And
ma'am.
Al Bundy, yeah, no, ma'am. Oh, I have one of those T-shirts, and I live in Los Angeles. I'm not suicidal enough to go to any place and try to walk down the street with that thing on. But oh man, no. But that was kind of like a long-running joke in the show, but it was all contributed towards Al's very much being very much being a narcissist about everything. Like he was so full of himself on every level, and he just despised his family. Like he always looked at them as like holding him back. Like the biggest mistake he ever made was getting married and having kids.
Well,
But
he did score 4 touchdowns in one game.
what's that?
I said he did score 4 touchdowns in one game
Oh yeah.
when he played for Polk High. Never forget.
Oh man, I need to rewatch that series. It's like just
Yeah, I'd even
it's a,
argue that honestly, it probably could get made today, in my
well,
opinion.
I'm talking about with some of the humor that was in it. It might get through certain things, but it's like there are so many things now that like it's kind of one of those things where if I even hear about a show touch upon certain topics, I grab a bowl of popcorn, I sit back and get ready to watch the fireworks because I know it's something's going to go down, and it almost always inevitably does result in some kind of fireworks show. But and it's not always that's a bad thing. It's just that things do get twisted out of context quite often, and it has happened numerous times. Um,
I mean, was
so
Al Bundy a misogynist? Yeah, probably, but he was also portrayed as like a complete buffoon.
oh yeah, no, he was an idiot. I mean, just an absolute moron.
His
But
opinions were never meant to be taken seriously.
no, but his opinions were pretty much shared by all the men in the show. That's what I'm getting at.
Who
His
were
opinions were
all
very
also idiots, except for Steve, but he was, pee-whipped by Marcy.
well. See, well, Steve wasn't an idiot, and Bud actually was very intelligent. But the thing is Bud was always getting screwed over by his family. It's like when he
Very
pulled
true.
out. I think when he pulled out, like I think what $15,000 or whatever it was, he pulled out thousands upon thousands of dollars for his tuition, and he left it at home um, before he moved into the college. And his family spent all of his money on like brand new stuff, like the TV, like fine, like like nice dinners. I think Al bought himself like a tuxedo that because he felt he was rich now, he just dumped freshly poured wine into a glass all over the tuxedo. Like I mean, just it was a horrible family. But on top of that, there was a lot of things that like with Al Bundy working the was it a plus size ladies show like a full figure woman's shoe store. Yeah, there was a lot of fat shaming, and this is where I'm saying like this show would never get made today, at least not in the same way that was thought to be funny back then, because there was a lot of things that happened then that would never ever ever be thought to be remotely funny now, and that's where I'm talking about like where humor doesn't really evolve that well. That's why I say it ages like milk.
So you're saying
Um,
we wouldn't hear things like, "How would walk through the shoe store today?"
like what? I'm sorry.
Yeah, just whenever Al comes home, talks work. It's like a fat woman walked into the shoe store today.
Yeah, exactly. Like that would never happen. I mean, it's like there was something like there was an episode where he was working with a heavyset lady as a customer, and he was just slamming her left and right like fat joke after fat joke. Like I'm thinking like, oh wow, man. But you see, like F is for Family is I look at F is for Family as like a rated R Wonder Years. That's pretty much what it comes off as to me. Just more centered
Yeah.
around the dad as opposed to the kids. But at least that you still have the main character who he's a prick. I mean, he's voiced by Billy Burr. What else would you expect? I mean, Billy Burr, he doesn't really give a shit about what anyone thinks about him. I mean, he made a joke about like Catholic priests diddling kids on live television on a morning show. He doesn't care. But I think he's also like one of the producers for the show. But with that, like he actually that show tackles certain issues despite its comedy, much in the way like nowhere near as unrestrained as South Park does, but it does touch on certain topics. And it's also he's very much family oriented person that loves his family very much. And it's nothing like, Married with Children. But as you said earlier, like no one thought that would even go that far, but it's already, I think, season 4 now. So
Yeah. There's one guy that's on TV that I admit I I see his stuff and I'm surprised he's still employed. You know who that is?
so
Daniel Tosh.
oh god. He's another one. His comedy has stayed the same for a long time, but the thing is, he has a established fan base. So that's actually where my question, I think, really comes into play. If you're an established writer, I mean, look at Clerks 2. Clerks 2 touches on a few different things. I mean, it's got interspecies erotica in it.
Thank you.
But oh my god, for all of our listeners, if you've never seen Clerks 2, go watch the movie. I would highly recommend that one. But the thing is that some of the jokes in that movie, that whole film, Kevin Smith got a standing ovation for 20 minutes after that film. There's the part where Randall goes on a rant after they get back from go-kart racing, and he unintentionally uses a racial slur. And Wanda, what's it? Wanda Sykes, I think, is the comedian's name.
Yeah, probably.
She's there and she's ready to kill him, and he's trying to describe like, no, that's not a racial slur. And he goes down a list of racial slurs, and he's like, those are racial slurs. And he starts like explaining that he learned that from his grandmother, and he never thought of that as a racist term whatsoever. So the way that they actually described that, it was definitely shock value. Like, you would never catch my ass putting any of that stuff into a script, but it was shock value, and it's still, looking back at it, like, 14 years later, I think, it still holds up its own, and actually kind of describes a little bit about the character himself as to, like, at least some aspect of his very askew worldview. So, looking back on stuff like that, I mean, it's just like there's certain ways, and I don't ever condone anyone just throwing racial slurs into a script. I, again, despise them. But
Okay.
I don't even know how to like say this without sounding horrible, but if there's some reason you're going to do it, I guess make sure it's for a damn good reason. Like, I mean, Tarantino just seems like he just throws it in there just to use it. Like, I mean, I know that's not the case, but his characters, when they use it, or like the storylines that include them, it's always very natural flowing to the characters. Like with how they speak, where they're from, what was it, Pulp Fiction, anything with Samuel L. Jackson. What was it? Reservoir Dogs used racial slurs a few times, but these are like Italian mob members, and they're known to be very racist people as well. So, I guess if you're going to use stuff, like I said, shock value is one thing. but make sure it makes sense. Don't just throw it in there to be like, oh, well, yeah, here we go. This will throw them off. Like, that's not how you really want to do it. That's not how you want to present yourself. And that sure as hell is not how you want to build your reputation. But I guess that's all I really have on that topic. So, yeah. Is there anything you'd like to add to this, Josh? That's fine.
Is there
So,
anything I want to add to this? Let's see.
yeah.
Hmm. Now, you brought up Quentin Tarantino, and I think that's an excellent point because, for a white writer that uses the N-word as much as he does, it's a little surprising that he hasn't really been called out more. Personally, I don't know him, but hey, Quentin, you can reach out to me anytime at Skip Comic or at Semicore Studios. I answer both on Twitter. If you want to talk to me about this thing, I just I don't know. It kind of feels like he feels he has like a past, you know,
No, I guess kind of.
and the way it's treated seems like he kind of gets passed because it happens a lot.
Well, yeah.
But
And, oh, go ahead.
maybe he's like, this is realistic.
Oh, yeah. I
I don't
mean,
know.
it's like in certain parts of the dialogue, it flows through. And like I said, Samuel L. Jackson, like, oh, well, like even like we're like Ving Rhames, he plays like the head of like a gang or a mob or whatever. It's been a long time since I've seen Pulp Fiction, but he touches on a lifestyle that is full of racism and bigotry and prejudice, no trusting of each other whatsoever, hurling insults, and all of his scripts pretty much touch on that kind of a culture. So it's kind of like one of those. The shock value is definitely there at times, but that shock value is something that moves the story forward. It's not just some random like, oh yeah, this would be funny if I have a white guy say this word for no reason.
And I get that, right? That when it comes to a lot of the things that he puts in his scripts, everything seems to have a reason, as far as the character development goes. Um, I don't know if I'm the kind of writer that would ever, drop that just in a script.
Yeah.
Because of course I don't see myself writing a story that would need it. You know?
Oh yeah. No, and absolutely. Like there's an example I can provide with the groomsman. It was my very first feature length script I've ever written in my life. But there was a scene where the the two characters are forced to stay together in a hotel and work towards helping with the wedding, anything that's needed throughout the whole weekend until the wedding day. The older brother is absolutely not going to do it. He's apprehensive, doesn't want to deal with this guy that he used to be best friends with. He hates him with a passion, won't go near him. So in the original version, I remember this very clearly because I read this and I instantly just said, absolutely not. I'm not going to do this. But, I had to find a way for this character to even agree to get in a car with his former best friend since he hates him so much. It's based very closely in my hometown of Jacksonville, Florida, and there's an area that is not a really good area. And so I write this scene where Carl, the asshole character, is walking through this neighborhood, and there's a nearby gang sitting outside, like hanging out by their cars and everything else. And Sean pulls up next to him and talks to him about getting into the car. Carl won't do it, so Sean blurts out the N word and says, "Oh my God, you're a racist!" And he drives off. Catches the nearby gang's attention. They get pissed off. They start approaching Carl, and Carl hauls ass, gets in the car, and they drive off. I remember very well writing this thing. I'm like, oh God, no, like this is no, like this. The joke that was supposed to be there wasn't there. There was no joke. It just came off as like just flat out hateful on every level. So I immediately took that out. But I've read scripts. I've read like I like to read independent scripts. I go to simplyscripts.com. I check out a few scripts, and there's some good ones. But you come across an occasional one where it's like, wow, this is in here for what reason? Like this guy is maybe trying to be funny or whatever it is, but the way this is portrayed, it has nothing to do with the story, and yet this is here. Like this is the kind of stuff that sets people off. And this is the kind of stuff that creates what is currently going on right now with the hatred and intolerance and the confusion and, the things being taken out of context. And that's one thing I actively try to avoid. And that's why I always stress on people, if you're going to write something again with shock value, do it for the right reasons. Make sure it carries the story forward. Make sure it actually has some kind of thing to do with the story, and preferably something really big that's going to drive that section of the story, because you should always write to move on to the next scene. But now I'm officially done. So,
Well,
like I said before, it's a passionate subject for me. So
there was a bit of interesting news when it comes to this kind of thing. That this whole cancel culture and things like that have shockingly become highly politicized, right?
yeah,
And everyone seems to think that it is, people that sway left, that hate everything and want everything banished and destroyed. And while it's hard to believe that isn't true at times,
yeah,
because after all, what does cancel culture target other than anti-gay or racial jokes? It's kind of their thing to target.
yep,
The other side came out recently with a petition to stop a film that would have Paris Jackson portraying Jesus as a lesbian.
oh yeah, absolutely.
So
And even something
far,
like that, like
they've gotten almost 300,000 signatures to stop this, quote, blasphemous production about a, let's see, it's called Habit, and
yeah,
it's about a street smart party girl with a Jesus fetish who gets mixed up in a violent drug deal and finds a possible way out by masquerading as a nun.
okay,
Now, personally, I have no skin in this game, because I'm not going to be offended by religious stuff. But I will say I have to see this movie now because it sounds kind of interesting. Is it going to be good? Probably not. But it's interesting to me.
oh yeah. I mean, it sounds like, I mean, it's something that every person really wants to see, which is a more original kind of story. Uh, I mean, it's kind of like sounds like a new generation version of Sister Act with some minor tweaking, but still, I mean, it sounds like it's a good story. But again, that's what I'm getting at. Even if it's something that I don't really know anything about, let it happen. Watch the show, watch the movie, whatever else. Give it a chance. God forbid, you might actually enjoy the goddamn thing.
You never know. I mean, we talk about Kevin Smith all the time and
Oh yeah.
the crap Dogma got for being sacrilegious and blasphemous. It
Yep.
was crazy because Kevin Smith's like, it's a movie that has a giant poop monster, a giant rubber poop monster, and people are taking it seriously.
Oh yeah. Yep. I mean, it was just for the biblical aspects of it, and I'm sure having Alanis Morissette play God didn't really help matters any because
All I'm gonna say is I've never seen God and Alanis Morissette in the same place at the same time.
oh my God,
Hey, hey, I'm just saying.
Jesus.
Just saying.
Well, either way, I stand by my point. Add shock for the right reasons. Add, if you're going to, again, I don't condone it. I try to keep it out of my stuff. But if you're going to put a racial slur somewhere, make sure it's something that actually belongs in the story to help it goes forward to further the plot. That's the only time it should ever be in there. If it's like a part of the character's trait, something like that. Don't just have someone just randomly put out like the N-word or something. I mean, even the groomsmen, I felt bad. I went back and I just in case I decided to ever do anything with it, I took out things I deemed to be too much, even though at the time there were words that me and my friends used to describe each other, and calling each other the F word was just like kind of again, humor kind of switches places, and even having gay friends at the time that didn't get offended by it, that doesn't mean other people will not. So there are things that were changed around just in case something ever happens. Do I agree with doing it? It's kind of like yes and no. Just because it was something based around the time frame, but hell, I mean, one of the subplots was them trying to chase down a digital camera. That was the same model that cost like $600. That was like, the old school, battery operated digital cameras. Those aren't really popular since we have phones now, so I had to upgrade the script a little bit to fit modern times. But anyway, let's see. Did you want to move on to the next topic? Because we're kind of there's a big thing I wanted to talk about was the things that the film industry is trying to do right now, taking precautions.
I just want to hit one more note real quick
Okay,
on that first first topic, and it'll be really quick because I feel like
that's
it's
fine.
something that needs to be said. You were on point 100% when you said make sure that it feeds the purpose, it feeds the story, everything that you write should feed the story. But I just want to make just one addition to that. If you are writing a racist character in your story, ask yourself a couple of questions. One, does this character need to be racist? If the answer is yes, then okay, congratulations, you passed the first hurdle. Because to make someone a racist just for no reason is just weird, and you should look in the mirror. Second,
Yeah.
what kind of racist is this person? And I know that you're gonna be like, well, a racist is a racist. There's a lot of kinds of racism in this world, and if you feel the need to have your character like shouting the N word whenever possible, remember, okay, uh, your uncle that sits at Thanksgiving telling the off-color jokes, uh, that's uh, that's racism. But having someone that's like hitting you over the head with their racism, just a tip, could be considered a little unbelievable.
Oh yeah. And it's got to be for the right reasons. Again, see American History X. That movie's actually recently come under fire in a few avenues, but for its racist tones. But that was the point of the film. It was about a reformed white supremacist that goes to prison, learns how dumb that belief is, gets out, and tries to save his brother from falling into the same culture. So it's just like, but I mean, and they use a lot of racial terminology in that film, but it was centered around white supremacists, and that word kind of gets tossed around quite a bit there. So,
Yeah,
but
yeah, and
amongst others,
you can't really tell the story of someone that's reforming if you don't show where they've been.
yeah, the best of enemies. I mean, for God's sakes, me and Danielle went to go see that last year, and I think I told you about that. It was an amazing film. It was all about the a mother of a child in school and a father of a child in school, and they're both one's KKK and one's black, and they're working together to try to figure things out. And it's based on an actual true story. And these two people remained very close friends after they put their differences between them. He left the KKK, and he actually started becoming close friends with her, and then they ended up being very, very close for the rest of their lives till the day that till I think he died first. But still, it's one of those deals. But yeah, it's getting a little late into the show here. But there is one thing I want to talk about, and that is actually two different things. One I think is hysterical, but precautions that the entertainment industry is taking, as they begin new and continue with old productions. Like, so there's a few things that they're doing, which I find very interesting. And I love the fact that they're working avidly to try to get filmmaking back up and moving. I can't speak for Los Angeles. I'm not too sure of everything that they're doing over here, but I would imagine it's about the same thing. But one of the things that they're trying to do, I have read a few filmmakers trying to do this while they film, using social distancing on set, but using camera angles to throw off the fact that they're not right next to each other. I think that's actually fascinating the way that they're doing that, but they're doing these a diagnostic test and a serologic test, testing for antibodies for the serologic and diagnostic testing to see if there's any current infection for COVID-19. But, they're getting into wiping everything down, like just religiously, as if their lives depended on it, because, it does. But the frequency of cleaning things, especially with like Georgia's film commission, don't know what exactly it's called, but they're making sure that they're frequently cleaning everything. Anything that's being touched by another person is being wiped down in between takes. Making sure that there is plenty of ventilation. Some are even like moving sets or storylines to being outdoors to try to minimize possibilities of infections. One article I was reading was actually talking about how film sets could learn a lot from the porn industry. And it makes sense. Like, I mean, you can actually learn a lot from the porn industry and how they try to, how they keep diseases to a minimal, considering how much happy adult fun time goes around between people over and over again, 20 to 30 times a month, I believe, per very well-known actor. But yeah, I mean, they're doing a lot with this. Have you read any of this, Josh?
No, I haven't. I haven't sat down and gotten to it.
There's a physician, Ashish Jha. He's a physician with Harvard University Global Health Institute. He says flat out, in many ways, what they're doing is a model for what we're trying to do with COVID. The adult film industry teaches us that as a proof of concept, this can work. We just have to scale it up. I mean, you finally have Hollywood looking at the porn industry thinking, you know what, they have something right. Like, maybe we should go to film school again.
Batman versus Superman.
Oh my God, that'd be hysterical.
No, that's a fact.
No, I'm just talking about like a happy adult fun movie based around Batman versus Superman.
There is one.
Oh my God.
And it's better.
We found the Snyder Cut. Oh my God.
I was seriously thinking about taking it and cutting it, just taking out all the naughty bits, and just so I could show it to people and say, this is better.
Oh my God. But this guy goes on, he says, what the adult film industry has produced has worked and really could be the kind of tool we need. People can't get distracted because it's from a business they don't approve of. And he's got a point. I mean, this guy is saying flat out, like, hey, Hollywood, look at this industry over here. Because, I mean, anyone that works in any kind of professional industry knows that Hollywood has no respect for the porn industry. To them, it's not considered art. It's considered filth. I mean, hell, there's even like Hollywood. Well, I don't think Hollywood independent films where there's actual sexual penetration in the lovemaking scenes. there's a scene with I forget her name, Chloe something or other. She was in American Psycho, and she was in the movie Kids. She's been in a few things like The Dead Don't Die. I forget what else it was, but there's a movie where she actually performs fellatio on her boyfriend, who was the director and star of the film. Like, I mean, he actually decided, hey, babe, give me a blowjob on film. Like, this would be great. They're no longer together now. They have a sex tape, whether she wants it or not, because it was in a movie. But they're looking at ways to go about limited touching of one another, immediate sanitation afterwards. Um, Steve Carell was actually just recently interviewed talking about how with Space Force, when they get back to filming, they're going to be filming a lot of outdoor scenes, stuff like that. But repeated testing, temperature taking, craft services like the little snack tables and everything else, that's going to change so much because it has to. At least until all of this kind of eventually goes away. Probably looking at like another like year and a half, 2 years of that alone. But I'm talking about how they're going to have to keep doing testing either once a week or once every 10 days or something like that. But they're talking about getting like a low cost 10-pack of tests for home use for the actors and actresses and film crews and stuff like that. But they're talking about how like we really can, and like the film industry is losing a lot of money by being out of commission. The theaters are losing a lot of money. You have actors and actresses in actual theater houses who are not performing right now because of this, and these are people too that have jobs that have to make rent, and they don't make as much as these big Hollywood stars and starlets. But they're looking at like 18 months or something like that of if like they can't sit around for 18 months and do nothing. Like, you have to keep trying to push things out. But yeah, so many productions were affected by this that stopped like mid filming to get this stuff right. But the fact that noted doctors and professors are urging Hollywood to just take a dip into porn and learn how they do their, no pun intended, by the way, but just like learn how that they do their tests and how they keep everyone disease and virus free. So
Okay.
perfectly go to the high
Learn
end
some
side
porn.
where they, go to the high end side where you're not just like meeting up in a, picking someone up on the side of the road and going at it in the back of a van somewhere, because those definitely, I don't think, are very health conscious.
Good to know.
Yeah. Just a little fun fact for all of our listeners.
Well, some
I
of
would
us have
urge
been
everyone
learning
to
from
write their
that industry
congressmen
for
and ask the
decades.
congressmen to, huh?
But some of us have been learning from that industry for decades.
Oh. Well, I had a friend in college that he wanted to be a porn director. I shit you not. He wanted to be a porn director. And I'm thinking, like, why are you going to film school for that? Like, just, work on a few film sets and carry that over into directing porn. Like, just, I don't know. Like, it's whatever. But either way, so, Josh, it is your week
I
this
could get
week.
into that. Somebody's got to
Huh?
change the paradigm.
Oh, God.
Talk about things that get remade over and over and over. Sometimes watching a few movies, it's like, this is the shot for shot remake.
My God. Well, I would recommend anyone to now. I'm not going to get into talking porn on our show. Like, not the point of the show. I was gonna make my own recommendation of the week, but it wasn't going to be for like. Well, I guess it would be for an independent film, but not the kind that we can really like put trailers for and ask people to watch. But either way, let's move on. Recommendation of the week, Josh. What is it, sir?
Oh, you're going to be a little disappointed.
Why?
Well, I didn't really do a whole lot of
Oh, God damn it.
research. I know what my recommendation is. Okay,
Okay.
but I did not get the. There we go. I have it now. It's not exactly indie,
Okay.
and it's not exactly unknown.
Okay. Well, what is it?
I'm only recommending it because I think it is the thing everybody should watch.
Okay.
I'm recommending Hamilton
On Disney Plus.
on Disney Plus.
Okay.
The Lin-Manuel Miranda written and starring Broadway production with the original cast, recorded over several performances, edited together, and finally brought to us for public consumption. Because before today, yes, it dropped today. Before today, the only way to see a production of Hamilton was to go and watch it. But now, if you have a Disney Plus account or know a friend with a Disney Plus, you can watch Hamilton with the original cast. By far, my favorite thing in a very long time. We're talking, of course, Lin-Manuel David Diggs, who's gone on to do some more things, especially Blackish, playing Rainbow's brother. Um,
Okay.
Renee Elise Goldsberry, Jonathan Groff, the guy is freaking amazing. Uh, Chris Jackson, Jasmine, Cephas Jones, Leslie Odom Jr. The man is incredible as Aaron Burr, and I
Okay.
could just keep going on, but it is a hell of a show and exceeded all of my wildest expectations.
Okay. So there you
I
have it.
cried, man. I
Hamilton,
cried.
Disney Plus. If you have Disney Plus, go see it. Disney, don't sue us. We're putting your shit
No,
out there.
Disney, give us free stuff.
Oh my God.
Send Lin Manuel Miranda to my house. I want him to be my best friend.
Oh, Jesus. Okay. Well, moving on. Hamilton, I'll post that on the website tonight, guys. The trailer. Hopefully, we don't get sued from Disney. But I will post it up on the website tonight. Check out the trailer. If you have Disney Plus, go check it out. If you don't, well, then, you know, you should go support that evil corporation and jump on board with Disney Plus. Like me, Danielle, and a few other friends of mine. Go check it out. It's really good. But we have a change this week, Josh. We have a script. We have our cold reads.
Yes.
Now, I was writing a script, but then I had someone ask me if they could submit something, and I cannot tell you how thrilled I was because I don't have the free time to be able to write the scripts, which is why we haven't really had one. I'm focusing on my job on top of a feature script that I'm working on top of Bad Agents web series and everything else. I'm trying to get so many things done that I don't have time to really focus on writing stuff. So a buddy of mine from film school sent me a script. Now, he doesn't want me to use his real name or his pen name, and he doesn't want me to use the title of his script as it is not protected. And he doesn't know exactly how he wants to go about naming himself in his writing. I've known this guy for 14 years, and he doesn't know how to, name himself. He doesn't have like a pen name and whatever else. And he's written a bunch of scripts and he's entered them into film festivals. But since we're actually reading it live, he asked that I leave his name out of it. So I'm just going to call this script Working Title. By
Uh,
Boba Kenobi.
so let me reiterate, Disney, please don't sue us.
Okay, you know what? Fuck it. Boba Kenobi. So we're already like putting this stuff out there, so we're good. But so Josh, I will invite you to pull up the file that I sent you.
Did you know Lin-Manuel Miranda might share a birthday?
What?
Oh, nothing. I'm pulling
Oh,
it up. Let me just flip this out. Okay.
okay. So,
Just looking at the cover, I'm not going to say the name, but porn,
the what?
make for the porn industry.
Well, yeah, it does. But it's a working title, and apparently it's a pen name working title too. So, working pen name rather. So either way, let's go ahead and kick it off. I will I'll do the narration for the action and everything else, and I'll let you play the character. Let me go through because I think there's only one character in this script, which makes it that much more easy.
Okay.
Let me just make sure. Okay, there's a female that I guess makes an H noise. So I'll play the female, and you will be what's the name of the character? Mike. You will be the character Mike. So I'll read the action sequences and the sorry, there's lots of fireworks going on outside. The description and the actions. And you ready?
Let's do this.
Okay. Fade in. Interior bus morning. Hiss. Air brakes force the empty behemoth to stop. A single person boards, looking sleepy. This is female. The doctorly type, young, pretty, but most of all sleepy. Woman. Sorry, guys. This is an R script, so this is kind of. I think this might be like a first shot they sent me. She looks at the empty bus, forces herself to a cold, puke orange plastic bench seat. Okay, puke orange. Female plops down into it, ready to pass out. The bus begins to drive. A pop type of Hindi music begins to play through the speakers. Female glares at the speakers. Resume sleep. Hiss. Squeak. Passengers board. Female continues sleeping.
You want to
Josh.
tell everybody this is from off screen?
Huh?
Did you mention that it's off screen?
No, let's let you take it from here. Whenever there's a speaking role, this will be you.
Okay. Feed me the previous line one more time.
Oh, okay. Well, it's right before the first character speaks. Hiss, squeak, passengers board, female continues sleeping.
The music is over? Don't tell me. It's Niraj Chat. Yep. I knew it. Here's the fare.
Mike, a small, grungy man carrying a large satchel that would make Indiana Jones envious, walks to the back of the bus. He stops by the sleeping female.
Good morning.
The female jerks awake.
Mind if I sit here?
Female shrugs, resumes sleep. Mike, smiling, plops into his seat. A heavy-set man walks by.
Hey, Joe, sit by me.
Joe looks at Mike, squeezes in between Mike and a panel signifying the end of the bench. Mike scoots closer to female. Oh man, this is rough. Oh, sorry. Here we go. Sorry, your screen froze up for a second. Female wakes up, glares at Mike, oblivious to it, and moves to add inches between them. Resumes sleep. Mike reaches down to his satchel. He takes out a bulb of garlic. Female sniffs. Sniff, sniff, sneeze. It's explosive. She looks at Mike as he takes a huge bite of garlic. Female looks horrified. Mike reaches back into his satchel, takes a gallon of water from it, hands his garlic to Joe, who holds it in his open palm. Mike pops the top off, drinks nearly half. Water dribbles down his chin. Lid goes back on, finishes his garlic. Mike returns the water to his satchel, faces female.
I haven't seen you around here before. You new to the area?
Female continues to sleep. Mike leans closer to her ear.
Good morning.
Female jumps, barely missing a head collision with Mike.
I was saying that I've never seen you before. What's your name? I'm Mike. Not much of a talker, are you? So that's okay. People normally say I do enough talking for three people. You do okay remembering names. My dad always taught me the best way to remember a name was to get real close to the person's face,
He leans into female, almost touching noses.
like this. You meet their eye,
He tilts his head a little, focusing on female's right eye.
like this. You keep that gaze. Then in a monotone, you repeat their name like 20 times. No more, no less. Mike, 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 Mike.
With each breath, with each Mike, female pulls back, repulsed by the stinky breath.
Mike, 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 Mike.
He pulls back.
See? Now you know I'm Mike, and you'll never forget.
The female wipes spit from her face.
I'd ask you where you work, but I can tell from your doctor garb that you work at Mayo Clinic. Me too. Yep, ride this number 510 bus every morning and night. Never miss it. On account that I bring my breakfast along.
Quickly reaches into his satchel. Mike pulls another garlic out.
Garlic. 61 natural acids known to kill all bodily ailments.
Mike kicks off his shoes.
One morning, I looked at my foot.
He lifts his bare foot up, putting it on female's lap. His toenails are in bad need of a pedicure.
Mold. A patch the size of a quarter. Doctor says it was just athlete's foot, but I'm no athlete. I knew what it was.
Mike drops his foot to the floor.
Cancer. So I'll tell you what I did. I went to the supermarket and bought 20 bulbs of garlic. I ate one that night with a full gallon of water, of course, for the burning. The next morning, the mold was gone. Ever since, haven't had a single sickness. Would you like to try?
He hands the garlic to the female. She pushes it away.
I insist.
He pushes it back. The bus hits a pothole, and the garlic falls from his hand, hits the floor.
Sorry. Oh well. There's always tomorrow.
Gilmore returns to her sleep. Mike reaches into his satchel. Out comes a Walkman, probably first generation. It's thicker than a stack of cards. Mike sets it on his lap, reaches back to the satchel, takes out headphones. He tugs on the cord. A foot-long length comes out. He keeps tugging and tugging and tugging. Soon he has a pile of cord stretching 15 foot on his lap. He plugs it into his Walkman. Music begins blaring, and Mike begins flailing a trap set solo. He's all arms, smashing on invisible cymbals and banging on invisible drums. His foot kicks at a bass drum. Female glares at him.
Don't like rock? How about classical?
Mike clicks a button on his Walkman, music changes to something softer. And Mike begins playing a rapid cello solo. He leans forward and begins sawing back and forth against invisible strings. His elbow continuously hits female's knee.
No? How about jazz?
Song switch, upbeat jazz. And Mike begins playing a peppy trumpet solo. It's complete with a mute, of course. Mike's fingers dance on invisible valves as his hand busy working a mute. As his other hand busy working a mute. I don't know what mute is. Female glares.
You sure are hard to please. I bet I have something you like.
Mike changes the song again, a light, whimsical song. And Mike begins playing a quick pan flute solo. His lips curl like he's whistling. His hands move an invisible pan flute back and forth across his lips. He hits a high note. It holds and holds. And then the bus hisses. The female grabs her stuff and rockets from the bus before Mike knows what's happening. Mike looks to Joe.
I hope she's not working the DNA testing lab. I didn't find her very likable.
Fade out. Oh, okay. I think that was definitely a first draft that we received. Okay. I mean, it had moments where it had moments where it was funny. It's just like it's one of those like I you know could have given her a name or something. I'm not going to tear his work apart. I mean, it's like it takes a lot to actually think of a story, especially one that only takes place over like the course of 6 pages. But that could also just be like a quick scene in a feature-length script. I mean, it definitely plays out as one. But I don't know. Well, I liked it. I'd give it like maybe I'd give it like a solid 3 out of 5. Sorry, buddy. There's so many things where you threw me off with like the grammar and the spelling in that script. I've got to give like at least like a 3 out of 5 on that one. So, but that was our cold read. That's called Working Title by Boba Kenobi. So hope you guys enjoyed it. Again, Disney, don't sue us. Sue Josh.
Yeah, sue me. Bring Lin-Manuel Miranda to court.
Oh man. But either way, so do you have any closing statements there, Josh, for tonight's show?
The only thing I have left is the plugs. So whenever you're ready for that, I will start slinging them out there.
The plugs?
Yeah, talking about Twitter and Facebook.
Oh yes, sorry. I'm sorry, guys. Bear with me. I've been working back to back like 12-hour shifts. Sometimes 16 to 18-hour shifts. I'm just exhausted. But yeah. So if you guys if any writers out there listening to this show, if you like to submit your scripts, I do not have the permission to post the script that we read tonight on our website, but I would absolutely love for any writers, aspiring writers, anyone that's writing a short film or anything like that, by all means, message us on the WADcast Facebook page. Let us know. Shoot us a script. We prefer something taking place between 6 to 10 pages with only 2 characters. Comedy, horror, drama, doesn't matter. But if you like us to read your script over the show, send it our way. Josh and I will be more than happy to read it, and we will not even look at it until, like tonight, it comes time to actually get into the cold read. But you can follow me on Instagram at bjacksman82, or you could go to the WADcast at Instagram.com/the WADcast. Also Facebook.com/the WADcast. You'll find us there with a beautiful black picture with the white writing in the middle with the slash. I mean, it's very hard to miss us. But then you can also go ahead and check out our website, thewadcast.com. All of our links to our social media accounts are at the bottom of the homepage. So Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, they're all there. And our shows do automatically play every Friday night, 10 o'clock Eastern time, 7 o'clock Pacific time. You can actually follow us at the very bottom of the page once we start playing. Go to the bottom of the page, click the play button, and then you can listen to our show live. But Josh, I'll let you go ahead and explain the rest of it to them so they know where to actually catch us live, to where they can comment, and also other things to follow.
Okay. Here we go. Thank you all for listening to the WADcast. We are here at 10 p.m. Eastern every Friday night, 7 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Hawaiian. And if you want to join us in the chat, you can always go to semicorpods.com. That's where you can join the conversation, leave some messages in the chat. We'll read them on the air. We'll talk to you. We like to have conversations. That's kind of what we do. Usually, every even numbered episode, we have a guest. Every odd number episode, it's just us being odd. But this is the WADcast, the show for writers, actors, directors, and every position in between on a film or television set. But if you happen to like the sound of my voice, and you like to hear about pro wrestling, you can always tune in Saturday night, same time, 10 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Hawaiian, for the Backstage Slam. It's my weekly I was going to say television show, wrestling podcast. Or, if you don't know what's coming to Netflix, Monday nights. What time? Oh, yeah, 10 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. It's all 10 p.m. Eastern. I go through the shows that are coming to Netflix instant streaming for that week, and towards the end of the month, I talk about the stuff that's suited. We had a lot of good titles dropping for the first, because that's always a big title. I spent an hour talking about this stuff last Monday. So big content drops every week as far as Semicore Studios goes. If you want to learn more about it, semicorestudios.com. Follow me on Twitter at SkComic. Follow Semicore Studios at Semicore Studios. Or follow the WADcast at WADcastPod. Whew. With all that being said, don't forget to rate, review, subscribe wherever you're getting these podcasts from. That way people can know what you think about us at the WADcast, as well as all of the other Semicore Studios podcasts. I do believe we are going to have some more content on the way soon. Maybe we'll start filling up the YouTube channel. Maybe even a little something on Twitch. But there are things in the pipeline, and I know I'm eager, and I'm pretty sure Brandon's eager to get these things to you, not only as quickly as possible, but in a quality that befits you, the wonderful people that decide to listen to us. Without all that being said, I'll once again want to thank you for joining us tonight. I'm going to go ahead and cue that music. Brandon, any last words?
Just I hope everyone has a happy Jalorth weekend. Be safe. Don't do anything stupid. If you're going to do something stupid, please do yourself a favor and everyone else around you. Do it within confines of your own home, but preferably no stupidity at all is preferred. Just be safe. Have a great weekend, and enjoy the barbecues and the fireworks. And that's all I've got. Thank you for listening, and it's always awesome to have you guys on board with us.
Don't forget, if you have a dream, if you want to be creative, the only thing standing between you and what you want to do is you. Step up to the plate. Don't throw away your shot. And remember, all of the best stuff happens at